Howdy, folks. Welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Tonight we got another great show for you. Tonight we're going to be talking more magical stuff. We're going to find out about the elements tonight. Yes, of course, the elements. And who doesn't like to know about the elements? So, like always, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to build our community here, and the only way to get that out is to tell others and help the algorithm by getting this going, and maybe more people want to find out about this. This is just basic alchemy things you need to know. This is stuff I wish I would have known 20 years ago. But tonight we're going to be working out of this book by Franz Bardon. It's the Initiation into Hermetics. I hope you all can see that. There you go. And we're going to start out at the beginning here with the elements. What are the elements? As you can see behind me, it's fire, earth, water, or what's this other one? And air. All the basics. And as always, we're going to share, because I know you guys love pictures. And who doesn't? And there we go. Ooh, what's this? These are more symbols. Symbols. Isn't that cool? And we're going to have our elements right here. These are our elements: fire, air, earth, and water. And why is that? And what can we use these for? That's what I want to know. The elements. So let's get right into this. And this is a very important if you want to know what is going on in the world and how to use a magic that you use every day. Now, most of you breathe air, you live on the earth, you drink water, and you have fire to heat your homes and keep yourself warm. So there you go. You use all of these elements. It's magic. You use the magic every day to live. Why not? And so I'm going to begin. The elements. Everything has been created, came into being through the effects of the elements, obviously. This applies to the microcosm as well as the macrocosm, as well as the microcosm, the large and the small worlds. Therefore, I will deal with these energies right at the beginning of initiation and allude particularly to their profound and multifarious importance. Until now, very little has been said to incur literature about the energies of the elements. For that reason, I have made it my responsibility to treat these unsettled subject matter and to lift the veil that conceals these laws. It is, of course, a difficult task to enlighten the uninitiated so that they are not only made aware of the existence of the activity of the elements, but that they are also capable of working practically these energies in the future. Of course, we work these things every day, one way or another, don't we? Okay, the entire universe can be compared to a clockwork with wheels that engage with each other and which are independent with each other. Even the concept of the deity as the highest comprehensible being can be categorized in aspects analogous to the elements. A more precise account is given later in the chapters concerning concepts and the concept of God. Okay, and in most Oriental writings, the elements are called tattvas. Tattvas? I guess it is. Okay, so we're going to skip over some parts. We're going to keep moving. And what do we got next? More pretty pictures. We do have one in here of the tarot. Okay, even in the tarot, the hermetic tarot. We go to this. Even in the tarot, the oldest book of wisdom, this great mystery of the elements is recorded by having The first tarot card represented the magician, who emphasizes the knowledge and control of the elements. On this first tarot card, the sword symbolizes the element of fire, the wand the element of air, the cup the element of water, and the coins the element of earth. Hence it is obvious that the ancient mysteries depicted the magician for this first tarot card, and consequently chose the control of the elements as the first act of initiation. In honor of this tradition, we will devote our greatest attention to the elements above all. Furthermore, it will become evident that the key to the elements is a universal remedy with which all problems that may occur can be solved. That's right. Okay. And so we'll turn the page. That is you, the wizard down here. Okay, we're going to go to the principles of fire first. Who doesn't love that? Okay. It is already mentioned in the Akasha, a principle of the ether is the cause of the formation of the elements. According to the Oriental writings, the first element to come out of the Akasha is the Teja, the principle of fire. This element, as well as the others, is effective only on our physical plane, but is everything that has been created. The fundamental attributes of the fiery principle are heat and expansion. That is why, and at the beginning of any creation, there is fire and light. Even the Bible begins with the word fiat lux, let there be light. Okay, light, of course, has fire as its foundation. Every element has its two polarities, namely active and passive, or plus and minus. This applies to the fiery elements as well. The plus is always constructive, creative, and productive, whereas the minus is decomposing and destructive. When we speak of an element, we must always speak of two fundamental attributes. Okay, religion has always attributed to goodness to the active part and the evil to the passive part. Fundamentally, however, there is neither good nor evil. This is all based upon human concepts. In the universe, there exists neither nor good nor evil, because everything has been created in accordance with immutable laws. The divine principles are reflective in these laws, and only through knowing these laws will we be able to get closer to the divine. As mentioned previously, the fire principle is a possession of expansion. In order to have a better idea of the principle, we will call it the electrical fluid. Later, we'll discover the reason for the analogy between electrical fluid and maternal electricity. The principal element of fire is active in Latin in everything created in the entire universe, from the smallest grain of sand to the highest that is visible, as well as which is invisible. Okay, now we're going to go to water. Maybe we got a picture of water in here somewhere. Yeah, there. That looks like water. Principle of water. In the previous chapter, we became acquainted with the coming into and the attributes of positive element of fire. And here we're going to be coming with water. We're also dealing with two poles of polarity. The active pole of constructive life, giving, nourishing, and preserving, whereas the negative pole, as with fire, is decomposing and fermenting, divisible and dispersing. Since this element's fundamental attribute is contraction, the magnetic fluid came forth from this element. Fire as well as water are active in all regions. In accordance with the law of creation, the fire principle cannot exist by itself, but must be contained within itself an antipole. The water principle, these two elements, fire and water, are the fundamental elements which everything was created. Consequently, we have to reckon everywhere that these two main elements, and furthermore with the electric and magnetic fluids, as opposite polarities. And so there you go. You got to have polarities. You got to have the fluids flowing. And you can see by the picture. You got the sun, that's the light, the fire, the moon, that's its opposite. And you got the water flowing, the fire, as you can kind of see by that. Okay. Okay, we're going to do with principle of air. And I don't know which picture here we're going to do with air. Let's do this one. There's going to be an air principle. This looks like an air principle. See them blowing all the wind? Air. Okay, another element, the principle of air. Another element that originated from the kasha is the element of air. Initiates do not consider this principle a true element. Instead, they make a concession of giving it a place as a mediator between the fury of water principle, whereas by the air principle establishes, so to speak, the neutral equilibrium as a medium between the active and passive activities of water and fire, all created life as set in motion, though the reciprocal action of the active and the passive polarities of the elements of fire and water. In its position as a mediator, the airy principle has acquired from fire the attributes of warmth, and from water the attributes of moisture, life. Life would not be possible without these two attributes. These two attributes also lend the airy principle two polarities, namely, in its positive effect, the life-giving polarity, and the negative effect, the destructive polarity. Okay, let's see. Now we're going to go to the principle of earth. And we'll find earth. That ain't earth. This should be earth. There's earth. Okay, the principle of earth. We have been told that the air principle does not actually represent a true element. This also applies to the principle of earth. This means that out of the reciprocal action of these three affirming elements, the element of earth element came into being as the last element, which through its specific attributes of solidification contains all the other three elements. It is this attribute of solidification which has given these three aforementioned elements a concrete form. At the same time, activities of these three elements have been limited, and as a result, space, measure, weight, and time have come into being. The reciprocal action of the three elements together with the earth element became terrapolar. Therefore, the earth principle can be considered a terrapolar magnet. The fluid in which polarity of the earth element is electromagnetic. Since all elements are active in the fourth, the earth element, as all created life, can be explained, though the realization which took place in the earth element, the fiat and let it be done, came into being. Regarding okay, so there you go. You got the elements in the various spheres, the kingdoms, such as the kingdom of nature, the animal kingdom, the human kingdom, the reader, or let's see, and those attributes. So there you go. There's the earth, and then the elements that make it up. So, well, here we go. Light, the element of light. The foundation of light is the fire principle. Light would never have come into being without the fire principle. Hence, light is an aspect of fire. Every element of fire can be transformed into light and vice versa. That is why light contains all specific attributes. It is illuminating, penetrating, and expansive. The opposite of light is darkness. The darkness can form from the water's principle. Let's see if we got one of those in here. Darkness, light and dark. There we go. The darkness came forth from the water principle. Darkness has an opposite specific attributes of light. Light would not be recognizable without darkness, because without darkness, light could not exist. You can learn from this that the light and the darkness came together, being out of the reciprocal action of the two elements, namely fire and water. Therefore, light has its effect in the positive attribute and the darkness the negative attribute. The reciprocal action is active in all regions. Okay, now we're going to go to the Akasha, or ether principle. When describing the elements, we have mentioned several times that they originated from the etheric principle. Therefore, the etheric principle is the highest, mightiest, the most unimaginable, the primordial existence, the original cause of all things. Everything created, it is the causal sphere. Therefore, the Akasha is spaceless and timeless. It is uncreated. It is incomprehensible and indefinable. The different religions call it God. It is the fifth energy, the primordial energy. It is that which created everything and keeps everything in equilibrium. It is the source and purity of all thoughts and ideas. It is the causal world in which everything created maintains itself, being with the highest of spheres downward to the lowest. It is the acquaintance of the alchemist. It is the all in all. The law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect. I think this fits it. We're going to use all the principles here. The law of cause and effect is an immutable law that has its aspects in the Akasha principle. Each cause produces its corresponding effect. This is accepted everywhere as the most exalted law. Every deed has an effect and bears fruit of the consequence. Therefore, karma should only be considered a law for good deeds, as Oriental philosophy teaches. But it is obvious from what we have learned so far that its significance is much more profound. Human beings feeling instinctively that everything good will bear only good fruit, and everything evil must only evil as a consequence, or an old proverb states. Okay, now we're going to move on to the human being, the body. Oops, I don't think that was that. The body. There's your body. The true image of God is the human being, who has created in the image of the universe everything that can be found in the universe on a large scale is reflected in the human being on a small scale. That is why a human being is called a microcosm, in contrast to the universe, the macrocosm. In reality, the whole course of nature takes place in a human being, and it is the task of this chapter to teach the student to learn, observe, to know, and to master this. So everything in the universe is modeled after us, or are we modeled after the universe? Which came first, the chicken or the egg, I guess? Okay, the elements have to perform particular functions in the body in accordance with the universal law. In principle, the elements are constructive, preserving, and decomposing. The positive body, or the positive part in the body, the one which is constructive, is the positive or the active part of the elements. The preserving or equilibrating part is the accomplished by connecting part of the elements, which is the neutral part, and decomposing or deteriorating part of the body, by conducting by the negative attributes of the elements. Therefore, to the fiery principle in its active form, which is electric fluid, is assigned the active, constructive, expansive activity. The opposite is assigned to the negative form. Okay, watery principle. In its active form, influence the constructive activities, and in its negative form, the decomposing activities of all the liquids in the body. Okay, the air principle is given the task of regulating the electrical fluids of the fire and the magnetic fluids of the water in the body and keeping them in equilibrium. It is therefore denoted as a neutral or meditating element. And so we go on. So, in the beginning of time, initiates have never written about the effects of the elements in detail, perhaps to prevent any misuse, although the effects were well known to them. They divided the human body into three fundamental concepts, assigning the head to the fire principle, the abdomen to the water principle, and the chest to the air principle as meditating principle between fire and water. The electromagnetic fluids in the human body have nothing directly to do with the common electricity and magnetism. They are, however, analogous, and the law of analogy is a very important factor in the hermetic sciences. And having this element will enable the aspiring initiate to achieve great miracles with this key. Okay, when it comes to nourishment, the element contained therein is intermixed. The intake of these elements brings about a chemical process through which the elements in our bodies remain preserved. The intake of this or of any element, nourishment together with breathing calls forth, from the medical point of view, a combustive process. Well, there you go. When the fire element in the body reaches a higher level of effectiveness due to a lack of nourishment among other elements, we feel thirsty. When the air element becomes more effective, we feel hungry. When the water element becomes more effective, we feel cold. And when the earth element becomes more effective, we feel tired. So there you go. Right now I'm feeling the earth element. Okay, the fire element. The body feels yearning for movement and activity ensues. Of the air element, the body curbs to the intake of any food. Of the water element, process of elimination increases, and the earth element manifests itself in the aspects of one's self life, but does not necessarily aspire itself through the stuff and whatever. Okay, we're gonna skip that part. Oh, it keeps us family friendly. Anyway, diet. As we talked about in many other shows, that the diet has a lot to do with how you feel and how you will control those elements. I don't have any food up here, but this is that sign you see at the doctor's office. So the harmony. There you go. See, nourishment. Your body needs nourishment. You don't get that, all goes downhill. The body functions as a whole, having been explained in detail. Each body part, besides being influenced by the effects of the analogous elements, is also influenced by a specific element which expresses itself in the polarity of the corresponding body parts. In this, it is an interesting fact that in the work placed in this clock mechanism or movement, in other words, in our mechanical ability of having the electric fluid flow from inside to the outside of the magnetic fluid of the outside of the inside of the respiratory, through which the function of the entire organism is carried over harmoniously in analogy. When it comes out to these other organs, the opposite applies. The electricity fluid is effective from the outside of, or to the inside of it. The magnetic field from the inside to the outside. Oof, that was a lot of words to say. The knowledge of this polar emanation is known in the hermetic sciences as the occult anatomy of the body. It is extremely important for every initiate to know the process knowledge of the effects of the occult anatomy. And you can see that all over the place. Let's see. I got one of them for this. Nope, we have this. These are the waters. There you go. Anyway. The Earth element has within itself a parapolar magnet with its polarity and effect of remaining elements in nature. The fiery principle is active from cause visualizing principle in its negative and destructive and decomposing principle. The water principle does the opposite in its negative form. The air principle, with its bipolar polarity, is also neutral, equilibrizing, preserving principle. See, all these principles balance out. So I think that is all I got written for today. I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm going to quit sharing. Stop share. Well, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that little bit and you learned something about the elements of the earth and how they affect us all. One way or another. The earth, the fire, the water, one's the opposite of the other. Just like electricity, there's hot wires and neutral wires, and one's in between. So that if you're getting all the proper stuff, everything works. As soon as that stops, you start getting disease. You start getting at ease. You're not at ease anymore. You're at a disadvantage. So with that, remember, people, go out and follow this pattern. Light, dark, everything that's yin and it's yang. So with that, remember, go out and do something nice for somebody this week. If it's nothing else, just give them a smile. And remember, enjoy yourself. Don't worry about much. Just enjoy yourself. Take care, everyone. Remember, go out and be the frequency you want to receive, everybody. Peace, everybody.